What's going on, everybody? Alex here from the Football Guys, here to talk about the Russell Wilson trade. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard that Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos, and today we're here to talk about the fallout for both teams. But first, if you don't know, here is the official trade. So in this trade, the Seahawks are receiving Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick, and Denver receives Russell Wilson in a 2022 4th-round pick. So the Broncos are the exciting team, but let's get into the Seahawks real quick and their fantasy perspectives with Drew Lock, Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. Drew Lock, I think he's a 1-year starter max in Seattle. I think they're going to look for a quarterback maybe at number 9 this year with the new pick that they're getting from Denver. But Drew Lock has not shown us anything in the last few years. Noah Fant has yet to finish in the top 10 as a tight end. I love Noah Fant, the prospect. I love him, the player. But the poor quarterback play, he's taking his 20% target share to fight with even 2 more talented pass catchers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. No, thank you. I am not going for Noah Fant much, and I think this poor QB play is likely going to make me pretty out on him now. I'm going to be out on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett for the time being. Those guys are already a little bit boomer bust sometimes, and now they take away one of the best throwing quarterbacks that the NFL has seen over the last decade. Very scared about them. Very scared about their running backs with, the timeshare split between Chris Carson and Rashad Penny. That is all scary for Seattle. This is not an offense anymore that I will be investing in much. But the offense that I will be investing in is the Denver Broncos. That starts with Russell Wilson, which will probably be the one player I will not be buying from this trade. So Russell Wilson actually missed being a top 8 QB for just the second time in 9 seasons, but he averaged a career low 13 rush yards per game. And you think that, okay, well, Russ hasn't really been cooking much in Seattle. Maybe he will in Denver. Their pass attempts over the last 3 years have been like this. Denver's averaged 32.7 pass attempts compared to 32 for Seattle. They're very even, but Denver also didn't have someone to cook like they would Russ. And we don't know what their, high-powered defense, how much they're going to really want Russ to cook the ball as much as Russ should be cooking. Russ is still a borderline top 10 QB for me, but he really wouldn't be higher. He wouldn't be in the top 8 like he has been the last few years in just about every single draft. But Russ is going to help this offense so much. And that starts with Javonte Williams. I'm buying Javonte Williams, a top 10 running back with much higher touchdown upside, especially if Melvin Gordon does not sign. If Melvin Gordon does not sign with this team and they have some other B back that signs with this team that's not as good, I will be all in on Javonte Williams. He could have a super big touchdown season. He's shown he can catch passes. But if Melvin Gordon does resign, I still would be drafting him in the 15 to 20 range. I think that he will take over as the lead back, as the 1A for sure, but I think it's still going to be a little bit of a time split similar to last year. But the guys that it really helps this year is Courtland Sutton more than absolutely anyone. So comparing DK Metcalf and Courtland Sutton last year, meanwhile, Courtland Sutton coming off a torn ACL, him and Metcalf both had a 34% team air yard share, with DK Metcalf having 1,764 total air yards compared to 1,756 total air yards for Courtland Sutton. Very similar numbers in terms of what they were getting with the ball, but DK Metcalf had 12 touchdowns to 2 touchdowns for Courtland Sutton, wide receiver 14 for Metcalf, wide receiver 44 for Courtland Sutton. That shows what it can do with quarterback play and how much that can tear you down. Does that mean that DK Metcalf is going to finish outside the top 40 next year with whatever QB he has? No, but that's more of a Courtland Sutton thing and how good he could be with Russell Wilson, especially 2 years removed from an ACL. He is a borderline top 20 wide receiver for me. Actually, I think he will definitely be in the top 20, but I have not done my official rankings yet. Next player to here to talk about is Jeudy. A huge bump for me, probably just inside the top 30. I'm excited to see how he checks out getting open as a route runner, but keep in mind that he has only had 2 top 24 performances in just 26 career games. I think he's a little bit overrated, and I don't know how much of Jeudy I'm going to be buying next year at this point, but definitely a huge upgrade with Russell Wilson. Obviously, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that I think people are going to value him a little bit too much for my liking. And the last big player to talk about in this trade is Albert O. Albert O is an athletic beast. He's a top 10 tight end for me now. I would take him over Fant, and he may be a little bit undervalued. I think people aren't going to realize how much this will help him enough. I know people are going to go back to the last couple of years with tight ends with Russ and saying that, he hasn't had a lot of great tight end performers, but he's also had Jacob Hollister and Nick Vannett lead the Seahawks in fantasy points for tight ends in 3 out of the last 4 years. Albert O is another guy that I will be buying. Another little hidden honorable mention is Tim Patrick, who has outscored Jerry Jeudy in points per game each of the last 2 years. I think maybe he could be like not a Tyler Boyd in terms of he's not the same player as Tyler Boyd, but that undervalued third wide receiver that I think a lot of people are going to miss a little bit that could be pretty good next year. Tim Patrick would be that guy for me. But biggest trade that we've probably seen in the last 3 years. I'm really excited to see how this fallout is, and I hope you guys are really excited to see what new videos are coming out for the Football Guys each and every day. Don't forget to turn those bell notifications on and keep enjoying videos all the time.